Hello, hello, hello. How are you? How are you? Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for joining this program, the Struggle Strategy Academy. And this video is going to talk about all about struggle. What is struggle and where do you struggle? So, struggle by definition is to make forceful or violent efforts to get free of restraint or constriction. It is to wrestle with something. So, struggle is when we struggle in life, it is simply saying that we are forcing things that go against nature. And by nature, I mean what God has intended or what the universe is trying to do. So, when we struggle in life, it's against nature that we have gone against that creates the energetic resistance that we experience, which creates opposition, which we see as struggle. During our time of struggle, there is no joy, there is no reward, there is no comfort. But the key to understanding struggle is that it is a choice. It is a choice that we make to change from what is required of us to do what it is that we choose to do. So, if we make the choice to do what it is that we want to do, and that's a choice, we decided in our heads, then we can very well change our minds and make a mental note to self to stop struggling, meaning that we will surrender to whatever it is that God is calling us to do. It means that we will let go of the thought that we are in control. And I say the thought, and I usually say LOL after when we release our control, because we definitely don't have control at the end of the day. But to change your mind about struggling can be useful, and it will allow you to pull out of yourself the qualities that you need to keep going forward. So, in your struggle, you find qualities within yourself and you can pull those qualities out. But deciding that you no longer want to struggle means that you have understood the purpose of whatever it is that you've gone through. It means that you have taken into account all of the things that you have experienced and you put them into play, and you've made a rational, common sense decision about no longer needing or wanting to struggle. So, to make forceful means that you are doing too much against what shall be. So, again, to struggle means to make forceful or violent efforts to get free of restraint or constriction. You're wrestling with something. So, you're thinking in your effort to struggle that you're preventing something from happening, but you're actually creating the negative energy that's creating the struggle for yourself. So, there's another part of struggle that is a kind and softer idea to think about is if you're being patient. If you're being patient through your struggling process, then that means that you've released the need to control things and you're allowing things to manifest the way they are. And in that patience, you're pretty much making up for the areas where you messed up in the past. So to make forceful means that you're doing too much yourself. And if you're doing too much yourself, then that means that you have removed God from the situation. And when you remove God from the situation, the earth brings forth the burdens that come with that. When you take God out of the scenario and leave yourself in, you struggle. And in that struggling, you are feeling and experiencing everything that comes with being disobedient and being a disbeliever of what God has already told you before. So when the earth brings forth her burdens upon you, those things that you do that are out of alignment with God's will, The universe will see to it that you pay for that. And it will show you in the form of opposition, energetic opposition. And that is whatever it is that you're struggling with. So God sees your desire to control what is in his control. So he creates strife for you. That's what your struggle is. And he will allow you to sit in that strife until you acknowledge what it is that you're doing, which is you trying to control and manipulate the situation. So when you choose to continue to grab a hold of things and remove God from the situation, you're choosing to suffer. And through that disobedience of God's word and its message to you, you're going to experience the struggle that comes along with it. So, what God has called for nature to produce for you, it will be choked until you release your control from it. And look at your fruit. What does it look like? Are you producing what it is that you want to, or you know that you can produce? Probably not if you're going through this course because you're struggling. And the reason that you're struggling is because you can't embrace change. You are unable to accept what is real and what is actually happening. You are so afraid of something that it's keeping you from surrendering and releasing your hands from the situation. And when you do that, again, you remove God from the situation, and that creates the strife in your life, the energetic opposition, which you see as your struggle. So, what areas of your life do you struggle in the most? What are you forcing to work that isn't? What are you forcing to work that isn't? Now, I'm going to include with this particular video and exercise, there's a worksheet that you're going to have to answer some questions and figure out where your struggle is and why you are forcing those things to happen in your life. So it's going to help you to dig deep inside and understand why you continue to make the choice to struggle, because somewhere deep down inside of you, you don't trust God. There is somewhere a part of you where you are so afraid that God is going to forget you, that God is going to leave you out, that God is going to abandon you, that God is going to forsake you, when you know in reality that that's not true. So inside of you, there is a place that is struggling with reality and the imagination and the fear and anxieties, and we're going to talk about that in another video, but the imagination that you're conjuring up with is contradictory and going against the forces of nature. Your thoughts are energy. So if you're thinking, you don't even necessarily have to be doing anything wrong. If you're thinking wrong, then that energetic force will block all of your blessings, and that will create the opposition and the struggle that you're experiencing. So if you're experiencing some struggle and you're doing everything right physically with your hand, you're doing your works, what is your mind like? What is going through your mind? What are you thinking? What are your thoughts like? Your thoughts may be the reason why you're creating opposition in your life, because again, your thoughts are energy, and everything that you produce is created through your thoughts and what you speak and how you feel, and that's the fruit that you're producing. So again, look at your fruit. What does it look like? What does your fruit look like? The earth brings forth her burden. So if you continue to grab a hold of your situation, if you continue to remove God from the situation, then by definition, you are forcing what is going against God's nature and what he has intended. Therefore, you will continue to create the energetic forces of opposition in your life. Therefore, you will continue to experience strife. Therefore, you will continue to struggle through life and through all the situations that you face. So, again, where do you struggle most in your life? Where are you most afraid of change? Why and why not? Those are questions that you can answer in addition to the worksheet, and they may vary. I may just actually add them on to the worksheet. Those are questions that you definitely need to know the answer to if you want to understand where your struggle is, what struggle is, and how you can begin to create the change in your mind. Because struggle is in the mind, it's a thought process, it's a choice that we make. It's something that we continue to do and force our minds to believe that we can control situations, and that takes God's presence and his power from the situation, and we don't want to do that. So what is struggle? You know now all about struggle. Where are you struggling? Dig deep with this exercise, this worksheet that's attached to this video. You're going to dig deep and find out where you struggle. And then next week, or the next section, well, next week, we're going to talk about why. We're going to talk about your why next week. So we don't want to really worry about the why right now. We just want to be able to identify those areas where you struggle with, and then connect that identification with the fact that you don't trust God. And why is it that you don't trust God? What has happened in your life that you have removed the knowledge that God is all and he controls all? Therefore, when you do that, you can release the chokehold that you have over everything and allow God to bring forth his power and his strength to you. So again, the earth brings forth her burdens, those things that you do that are out of alignment with God's will. The universe will see to it that you pay through struggle. God sees your desire to control what is his control. So he will create the strife, better known as struggle, for you to bear. And you will continue to suffer through that as long as you continue to be disobedient and disbelieving, because your struggle comes from you going against what God has called for nature to produce for you. Look at your fruit. What do they look like? What does your fruit look like? So that's all for this video. I will see you on the next one. But again, take a look at yourself and see why you're afraid to embrace change. Look at the areas of your life that you struggle with the most and ask yourself why. So go ahead, grab that worksheet, get to doing those questions. I'll see you later.